implemented to the agriculture sector through the different chains?
The impacts would be huge because, as you played just in the clip, agriculture still remains the cornerstone, and I think it's going to remain so for quite a bit of time. So there are some broad outcomes that we focus on, and kind of like the barometer of what is happening. And there are many, but I could just cite a few that you probably already know: food and nutrition security, employment, job creation, contribution to export earnings, because if you look at our earnings, especially coffee these days, quite a bit is coming in from that angle. So employment, I said, job creation, food and nutrition security. You have also the agro-industrialization agenda, which depends very much on agricultural products. So those are some of the outcomes you keep your eye on, but the list could be increased, and there are quite a number of them.
Okay, looking forward to having an assessment of those. But of course, the Department of Agribusiness and Natural Resources Economics, where you're coming from, should be having a comparative advantage as to why it's the best suitable host for this center. Talk to us about that.
Yes, indeed, we think we do, because we are, okay, age aside, but we are the oldest agricultural and development economics department in the country. There are a number of younger sisters and brothers coming up in other institutions and universities. But looking back at DANRI, that's what we call it, we do have quite a number of staff, highly qualified with PhDs, and have done quite a bit of research, as could be judged from their publication records and some of the activities they are engaged in. So the qualifications, the number is quite okay. The qualifications are quite okay. And the areas of specialization is another advantage, because agriculture and development economics has quite a number of areas. You have environmental and resource economics, you have marketing, international trade, you have all those areas, and we do have those competences seated at the university, and we think that's a resource that could be harnessed by the policy processes to be able to make a difference in what is happening in the country. Okay. Yes.
All right. So, Professor, from this side, we usually see a scenario where the academia and the research is on one end. You do have the policy makers or the lawmakers on one end. The only time they get to interact if there's just one contentious issue, and it's at that issue that there's an interaction, but no consideration of what has been submitted by academia. As a department, what are your proposals to bridge policy information gaps that we currently have on a national level, so that you can bridge the gap between research or academia and the policy making?
Thank you very much, and I think you are spot on that. It's like we've been looking at ourselves as the supply side of this policy information, and what you've just articulated is the demand side, and it's just that as long as demand and supply don't meet, then you don't have a market, which we call an equilibrium from our side. So we've realized that over time. As I have said, many of us have been in this space for a while, and yes, we meet at workshops and chat and do networking, and then leave, and everybody goes back to their own business. But I think this time around, we've learned our lessons, and we think we can do things different. And what we plan to do different, is, previously, let me just say what we've been doing. We've done a lot of research. If you come to the university or look at people's computers, there are lots of useful information that is there, even student research and all that. We publish in academic journals, and we are promoted, and we are happy, and we move on. And then you call us professors. But then on the other side, I think not all the research we do actually reaches where it's supposed to be. So we are trying to think back and say, most of the research we do now should be demand-driven. And how we intend to do that is to reach out to the different partners, the different government entities, especially the MDAs that have the issues that need attention. And then we start from there. That informs what we'll be doing, and probably what we'll be influencing students to do. Students are influenced a lot by us. So what they do tends to be, we are not recreating ourselves, but somehow unintentionally some of that happens. So we visit and interact with the different partners, MDAs especially, but of course there is also the private sector, UMA and others, and then mop up the issues that are contemporary, that are very important, and then this is what we'll now bring back and work on. By doing that, we think the other side will be interested in what we are doing because the issues we have identified together with them. And we've already started talking to a number of them, and they were at our meeting yesterday. So we think we are on track as far as that is concerned. Thank you.
All right. Then it also begs the question in terms of implementation, monitoring, evaluation, especially for national development plans, as we are looking into Plan 4. What's going to be the contribution of the Policy Research Center in supporting that?
We've already visited the NPA, National Planning Authority. We've interacted with them, and yesterday we had them at the meeting. And actually, if I remember, Professor Mbabazi's comment when we visited her office, the chairman of NPA, chairperson, was that the policy center is long overdue. And some of those sentiments were also echoed yesterday at the meeting. So we think we'll be discussing more with them on how far the processes are, and then we'll be proposing ways in which we can partner with them, intervene. And we are not going there asking for money to intervene. We think if we have good proposals and good intentions, the money is there. There is a lot of money floating around that can support this type of work. So we're in discussion with them. We're in discussion with the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. Specifically also we visited the ED and briefed him, and he was very excited about this.
How does the Bureau come in for this case?
Oh, the Bureau comes in huge because data. You can't do this without data. So they are the masters, the owners, they have the mandate for data collection. So without them, this can't work, what we are thinking about them. So they are core, if I can repeat the same word. So we are already making inroads into most of the people we saw at our meeting yesterday. We are already in touch. We've been previously in touch, culminating to the launch that we had yesterday. Yes, please. All
right, so let's look at contributors and beneficiaries. I know that the Department of Agribusiness and Natural Resources Economics is part of the contributors. Who are the other contributors to this Agricultural Research Policy Center? And also on the side of beneficiaries, who will it benefit directly and indirectly?
Our partners are many, and as we emphasized yesterday, again, our huge advantage is the entry point with Apex. We've already been talking with Apex for close to 6 months now. If you know, that's the platform anchored in the Office of the President. And those filter all the policies that come in, and we had them yesterday, and we are excited to start this off with them. But of course, we have Apex, and we have other partners. We are not the only people in the space. There is already, as you know, EPRC already in the space, Economic Policy Research Center, our sister. There is Environment for Development. There are others that are I won't go into listing today. So the space has a number of partners we work with. So there are those partners on the supply side like us, and then there are partners on the demand side. On the demand side, I have already listed. Key would be the Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. We're also looking generally the MDAs that touch on agricultural, environment, natural resource issues. So you could talk of Ministry of Water and the Environment, and NEMA, National Agricultural Research Organization.
Even law enforcement, right?
Law, yes.
Yeah, because they execute some of these.
Sure. Our students are taught to business law, so we keep an eye on law as well. Yes. Okay. So we have partners both on the supply side where we sit, and partners on the demand side where we interact with. So all those are very important to us in this space. Okay.
So on the side of the demand, you have talked about the MDAs. In terms of data management and analytics, how do they get to contribute to the research center?
On data, we are still zooming on UBOS because you can't handle data without the blessing of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics. But having said that, one of the points we discussed with the ED UBOS is about an MOU that would then allow us get a little bit closer to them. And getting closer, we recognize they have huge data sets, national representative, collected based on sound sampling procedures, which we think we can get access to. Right now, most of the products you see from the Bureau, and with due respect, tend to be descriptive. But we think we have analytical tools that can question the data further and get more output from that.
Okay.
So we are in discussion with the Bureau in terms of accessing those data sets, support them in the cleaning processes. Data normally need additional cleaning. And maybe if they allow, we can even archive the data sets such that we have an MOU, and then we could release the data sets with their approval, but we can keep them, use them, and have students access them. But there is a piece of the question you asked about the beneficiaries. Who are the other beneficiaries and what they are likely to get from this that I think I didn't get a chance to speak to. The issues I highlighted, job creation, household incomes, foreign exchange earnings, productivity, because we have some of the lowest levels of productivity in the country in terms of agriculture. And there are many causes: pests and diseases, soil depletion, low use of fertilizers, low use of agricultural finance, as you stated, all those. So we think once all those issues are addressed, then agricultural productivity is enhanced, and once agricultural productivity is enhanced, we expect that to translate into improved incomes at the household level, and that's where we think the ordinary Ugandans sort of come in and benefit.
Okay.
Of course, if foreign exchanges are enhanced, that also has a trickle down into the economy and benefits to the ordinary Ugandans.
All right, Professor Bashasha, let's talk about sustainability. I know that there's technical sustainability and the financial sustainability. As a research policy center, how do you intend to actually have these two sustainabilities?
Technical sustainability, we are not worried. The space we occupy is an advantage to us. As I said, we have quite a huge number of staff, and people know that. And we have the advantages that, okay, I would say these people are already paid by the government, so they are civil servants. So we want to be looking for additional money to pay them salaries. So we think that's a huge advantage that we are starting from.
Okay.
Then we have these other partners I talked about. EPRC, FD, and others. There are other universities, as you know, public universities are increasing in number. And most of them have departments of economics or agriculture economics. So that's a resource to tap in. But our huge, most important resource are the graduate students. We have masters and PhD students in various areas. And then if you look at the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, the department that is launching this is not alone. There are actually 10 other departments. Ours becomes the 11th. So all these departments have different expertise that is seated there. So we have the in-house, college-wide, university-wide, and then country-wide, if you look at the other universities. So from that angle, we are not worried. Financial sustainability, yes, there are things we need to do right to be able to financially sustain this, because all the work I'm talking about is going to need resources and money. We believe credibility is an issue. If we have credible evidence that is trustworthy, then people are going to give us money. Partnerships is critical, and we have already started that. If we have the right partners, we think we'll be able to be supported. We are trying to put up a board, and the board is sort of strategically being packaged together. So the board membership, the credibility of the board is also going to be a critical factor in terms of resource mobilization. There are many sustainability factors, but I can list those for the moment. But
okay.
we are thinking through those areas as well.
All right, going back to impact with
Yes.
the center, let's talk about impact on agricultural practices that do exist in the country right now, and also impact on the livelihood of farming communities in the country.
Impact on livelihoods of the farming communities, again, borders on what I tried to speak to a few minutes ago. It's about their food security first. It's the nutrition security. It's about jobs created. It's about employment and basically the standards of living of the people, especially the 68% or so who still depend on agriculture as a source of livelihood. So that's the impact I see there. Then on the farming practices, again, they are related. Because I talked about a number of problems that pertain at the farm level. Because when you say our agricultural productivity is low, actually the way we measure that is by looking at the yield gaps. We compare what is happening at the research stations and what is happening at the farm level. And the wider the yield gap, the bigger the problem. So we see those yield gaps, and this cut across the different enterprises. So that's the first thing to deal with. And how you deal with that is to look at the underlying causes. Soil depletion would be one of them. Our soils, everybody says our soils are rich and fertile and whatever, but apparently that's no longer the case, because we're going to have a meeting, I think next 2 weeks, that will be looking at those issues. So you look at what is causing those huge yield gaps, the management practices, the agronomy. Sometimes the agronomy is not right. If we say you do this and weed 3 times and you weed once, it's not going to work. The weeds are going to outcompete the crops. We talk about irrigation. Climate change is here, and rain is no longer enough. So once we don't supplement with water, then you have a problem. You have a pest and disease pressure problem that increases again. Most people say with climate change. You have the drudgery problem. We still use the hand hoe, and I think we have to find ways and means of graduating from that. So I can go on and on.
Okay.
On the areas that are actually culminating into the low levels of productivity that we are seeing. So once good policies are in place, those areas are addressed, productivity improves, and then household income improves, and then we think we are home and dry.
All right, Professor Bashasha, as that means that you're going to have to look through a lot of these policies, maybe even overhaul some of them. But as that being the case, with the Research Policy Center, what is the futuristic vision for the center in shaping Uganda's policies as well as practices in agriculture?
We think the future is bright, because before we launched this, as I said, we did a little background consultations. And we have the goodwill of both government. Government is committed, very committed, and they repeated that yesterday at the meeting, to actually engaging with us in terms of informing how the problems, nobody likes to see these problems persist for years and years. So everybody is interested. So we think we have buy-in from government. Being seated at the same table with Apex yesterday was sweet and beautiful. So we think we have a buy-in from the high levels of government. MDAs that we've talked to are all with us. Our university, the vice chancellor, the principal, and others are all behind us. They were at the meeting yesterday. The donors, the development partners, as we call them these days, are already on board with us. We had the World Bank yesterday. We had, I think, the Danes yesterday. We had Agra, of course, that are supporting us, and several others. And then also we are tapping into what we call an APRI. An APRI is the umbrella continental body that supports and oversees the functioning of these different national policy research centers. They were at the meeting yesterday. The ED flew in to attend the meeting. So I think we have all the pieces on our side. It's for us to lose, basically. So we think the future for this is bright. Okay,
all right. Professor, in closing, what's your call to action to the different stakeholders?
The call to action is to stick with us, support us, work with us. We are ready to deliver on our side of the bargain. So we need persistence and consistency as we do this.
All right.
Because many initiatives start and you hear about them at the launch, and then you don't hear about them again. So we want to come back here and tell you good stories at some point in time.
Okay.
Yes, and that takes us sticking with each other. Partnerships, as I said yesterday.
All right.
Yes.
Looking forward to that. Professor Bashasha Bernard, coordinator of the Agricultural Policy Research Center that is being hosted at Mackay.